One thing that you might want to keep in your back pocket as a potential option that a lot of venues are increasingly doing, especially post-pandemic, because during COVID, a lot of small venues just flat out closed down. But a lot of venues stayed alive essentially by just more or less turning into glorified rental halls. A lot of venues now, especially especially like in the 500 to 1,000 cap range, don't necessarily have an in-house booker who's vetting bands individually. What they usually have is someone who's essentially just managing the calendar like a booking manager. And what they're doing is they're trying to just fill the dates as much as possible. And that means there's usually a bottom line hard cost for using the room. Now, that cost can be daunting on the front end, but if you look at it as, okay, I'm going to put together a full event, then what you're essentially doing is serving as your own promoter. Now, that is a lot of extra work. And I want to be upfront about that. It is a lot of extra work because at that point, you are essentially taking on the responsibility of putting out flyers for the show, hanging up posters, making sure that there's marketing on social media, making sure that emails are going out to a mailing list that you have if your band has one. And that is a lot to take on, especially if you're a new artist. So it's not something that I recommend doing if you're brand new. I recommend honestly that you've been playing shows at least a year or two in your town before you even try to do this, unless you've got enough bands that you've connected with that are strong enough that you feel confident that the draw is going to justify the cost of renting a place out. If you have those kind of connections where you can put together, say, a show that'll do a couple hundred people, and you've got a room that's going to cost maybe 100 people in the room to break even, then it might make sense to do that. In fact, at that point, it might make more sense to do that than to deal with a promoter at all. There are a lot of bands that basically take the middleman out of the equation entirely, and they just four-wall everything they do.